Hello, welcome to another edition of Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 133 for February 9, 2024. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App. We have Patrick Anderson, Technical Success Manager for Plantain App, who will also help moderate this wild discussion. This is an event we do every Friday, this hour, 10 a.m. Central Time. Get together, talk about low code in general, Plantain App in specific, and we take everyone here. Everyone's welcome. All of these are recorded and put out onto YouTube, so there are hundreds now of hours posted on YouTube that talk about all kinds of things Plantain App. So do subscribe to that. That's youtube.com/Plantain App. We run this agenda every week. We say hello because it's a nice informal meeting of friends. And then we go on to go around. We start always with first call, see what's going on with people and if there's anything we can solve. And then we take a look at various things, contributions to our Campfire website, feature requests, submitted topics. We do have one submitted topic today. And Matthew is here, so we could talk about his topic. And then after an hour or so, we turn off the recording. We go into our afterglow segment where we continue on for a few more minutes and talk off the record. Do engage with us, jump in, show and tell, chat with us, raise your hand, just get involved. We have very few guidelines. If you've got noise going on behind you, please mute. Otherwise, be nice to each other. You can submit questions and topics either by sending me directly an email, and I'll get it on the list, or using this QR code, which there's also a link in the emails that we send to you. So with all that out of the way, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Dale.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
I saw several.
And I know Don is down in the Keys.
That's right.
Yes.
And you told me, and people told me to stop rubbing it in.
My wife was telling me just yesterday that she would love to have a cruise that includes Key West. So you might find beach bums, or rather us on a shore excursion out to your place, Don. So you might not want to really reveal the address.
It doesn't matter. I'm Airbnb-ing, so I don't think the host here would appreciate you stopping by out unannounced. But if I'm here, you're welcome.
Fair enough. All right, we move right on to first call. What's going on? Somebody got something?
I do have a quick question. I looked up, I was trying to, I've got a couple of files that are on an FTP server. That's the only way I know that I can get access to them. I tried to find some way of, get file via FTP kind of a action, and I found an upload to FTP. That's all I found. Is there a way for me to get files from an FTP site to copy onto the main server?
I think there's an action for that. I think it's in our, I think save file will do it. Let's take a look. Save file has the ability to do a content source. So if you can get it by way of a URL, if there's an FTP URL, you can use that and then tell it where to go.
I currently can't find a URL that works. I'm not getting any help from the client. They say that you can't get to it. It would seem that you should be able to get to it, but I don't know. Is there a way for me to
FTP://username at password colon and then whatever the URL, the address is for the FTP site, if I remember correctly.
Got it. All right. And I've tried that minus all of the security. Maybe I need to do that. I'm not positive what the full path from the root is. They gave me a FTP user, and it's somewhere on the site, and I just see me as my folder is my root, so I don't know. But yeah, so that's the way you got to do it. You got to have a URL to it. There's no like the upload to FTP.
Not aware of an FTP action. Separately, I would definitely explore it from the methodology that Ben was just talking about.
Okay.
Hey, Dale, I've
Yes.
got one question. And, from the seminars, they were saying that we need to upgrade to DNN 9.13.2 as soon as possible. And, we're still at 9.9.1. And I don't want to take that jump up to 9.11, especially with the bug that's in the file management system. So can you give me some sort of advice as to when you think you guys may be compatible with 9.13.2?
So all I know is that we make a point to go to the when we start a new development cycle to use the most recent DNN that is, I don't know, development selects a new version of DNN to test against. Given the recommendation, in fact, this is probably a good one to make sure we hit in product meeting, but 9.13.2, the fact that they were so strenuous in the recommendation for 9.13.2, I would hope that would be our next target. So
Yeah.
in the event that, I mean, we're just starting the next development cycle for 1.27, so my suspicion is we'll have a lot of experience with it when 1.27 comes out. There's nothing ever that says, I mean, we don't have any indication that there's any problem going to, we just don't know, right? So we recommend based on, here's what we've actually tested. If
Right.
you have a test site and you want to upgrade it to 9.13.2, it very may well work. Early on in, I don't know, one of the releases recently resulted in high CPU usage when they went on to something that we hadn't tested yet. So
Yeah.
there's
And
it's not saying that we won't support it. It's just saying we haven't tested it.
Yeah.
and if I remember correctly, one of the and maybe that's been fixed now, but one of the concerns about the later versions was problems with exporting and importing modules, I think. So, but we haven't got to test that yet though. So that's one of the things that I think is listed as known issues on the DNN platform Git page.
Right. So we kind of take and I understand that it puts you behind from a security point standpoint or feature standpoint. We're not intentionally dragging our heels. We're trying to deliver the most quality product we can.
Yeah. I get it.
Again, not unsupported. It's just give it a try and test it thoroughly yourself because we haven't
Yeah.
gotten it.
I have several sites that are 9.11.2 and Plan an App 125. And they're all running smoothly. I did clone and then upgrade and test, and they're fairly large sites. So that's just one upvote. So
Yeah, but that's
didn't
9/11.
get at least that far, but I would like to. I got bit big time by that resource manager bug that they talked about. If you click on an item and then go to another folder and then click on an item to delete it, it remembers the previous click, and the previous click was the root of an outside storage. So I had to very quickly shut things down and have them restore. So made a real mess.
If
That
anybody,
was painful, I bet.
Yeah.
for those that happen to get to my session, I was using the resource manager quite a lot, and probably noticed me refreshing a lot. It's
Yeah, I saw that.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, there's some friendliness issues there that hopefully
Mm.
are cleared up. Just to point out, we update this page on, so our DNN compatibility page on our documentation to keep it up to date. So current recommendation is, current tested is 9.11.2. And then, I suppose I could be a little bit more voluminous about not recommended on this page. It's really just not tested. So good question.
By the way, Dale, that was a great session you had yesterday, or day before yesterday.
Thank you. I noticed, again, several of you there. Glad that you're in and supporting the DNN community at DNN Summit. Several interesting sessions going on.
Yeah.
In my quest to eliminate PDFs whenever possible, I have clients that love to just throw PDFs in, and especially for government sites where it'd be nice to be transparent with tax information and other kind of information. They generate hundreds of PDFs, and they're small little tables on each PDF, and that way of describing or displaying the information that Dale showed is a game changer for them folks. I think I got to pitch that to them and show them that they could be showing that information live on the pages rather than sending everybody to 50,000 PDFs.
Yes, indeed.
So Don, sorry, related to what you're saying, Ryan Moore had something in his segment that involved a little service that would compress all those PDFs and make them take up a lot less file space. So something you could add to your site that would do that.
Great. I will look for Ryan's talk and rewatch it and watch it. I didn't get to his. Every time he had one, either I had one or Dale had one and another person had one that I wanted to see, so couldn't get to it. Good things all around, by the way, Mark. Thanks a lot for making that happen yesterday,
Yeah,
the day before.
really great summit. I'm glad you liked it. And thank you for participating and having a session. Awesome.
I had a lot of fun in my sessions. Yep.
And Dale, I didn't get to see yours yet. I popped in to make sure you were okay, but I didn't get to watch it. So now I'm looking forward to watching the replay. You want to tell us about what you did, or?
Yeah, you're probably not going to get me to shut up about it. I have a slide here today, and I can show without going through it. I can show what we accomplished in an hour, but also it's going to be the subject of the next Low Code Cafe. So, but with more of a plant and app twist. On that
That's
last
awesome.
question, I wanted to point out there is pack folder, which is a zip action, and unpack and archive. So you could archive content using some actions here within Plant and App. Save some space that way.
Is that you zip?
Now you got to get into unpacking it when you need it and stuff like that, but it's available. And then yeah, Ben has put on the clipboard that format for
Mhm.
the FTP site, so hopefully that'll get you there.
Yeah, I put the FTP, how to do it through a URL, and I just also posted a link to that software to compress images and PDF files.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, on top of things.
I do my best.
Thank you very much.
Thought I had some links here to my stuff. I'll find it here in a minute. Okay. So let's move on to the submitted topic. Matt, are you ready to talk about what you were trying to accomplish? And we can perhaps collectively say, yep, here's how to do that, or no, it's not going to happen.
Sure. So essentially, I've got a busy screen with a lot of information on it, and I want to be able to pop up a combination of a form and a table. Step one, you've got to do something with the form. And then before you get to the table, because if you get to the table too soon, I don't know what you're going to do and you could possibly wreak havoc. So what I was hoping to be able to do was open a pop-up tab with two items in it, a form and a table, either in two separate tabs or in the same tab with the table hidden initially, then being displayed. So far, it's not working as I would hope. And so, yeah, anything you guys can do to, weigh in on this and help me, I'd be greatly appreciative.
You mentioned the possibility of showing what you've got so far. Do you have that available to do?
Absolutely. All right.
And I think I'm going to be interested in what your condition is on your tab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've tried many different combinations and not been able to get the magic to happen. So what I did is I started with a blank setup and nothing else so that I can just simply isolate this down. So I've got two instances here, this opener form 1, opener form 2. Opener form 1 opens a pop-up with two tabs that are conditioned by this variable session state show. The name of it is show list tab. Starts out at 0, then gets updated to 1, which is then the condition to show the second tab. Not had any joy with that. The second instance is the same concept. Open the tabs pop up with two modules, the top one being the form, the list underneath it, but it's hidden until you do something, okay? And in this case, all I'm doing is setting this variable from 0 to 1. So
would you mind going to the tabs configuration so we can see the condition that's on there?
Yep, there's two different instances of tabs. So this one is the first of the two, and it's conditioned where I've got two tabs theoretically side by side, and this one is only supposed to show when the condition is 0, which it is upon when the button gets clicked. Okay, so then it shows this form, which then says to the user basically do something. And then what it's supposed to do, the click of the button on the form is supposed to open up tab 2, which down here is conditioned to only show when that session value is 1.
So
and
I'm going to, and Patrick, maybe you can jump in here too and remind me if I'm getting this right, but it is pretty much impossible to use session to conditionally show.
Let's start there. What else don't I know?
Patrick, do I have that right?
I think so. I think I've tried some. Yeah, it works better with URL parameters. Yeah, get.
Yeah, unless you get a screen refresh.
But also, I want to make sure that when you're are you reevaluating the tab conditions on the action that
I have tried different combinations, and yes, so I'm reevaluating conditions on 1 before it goes to 2. 2 is not reevaluated, but I believe I've tried that before and no joy. We have some hands up, I think.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Ben, you go first.
Okie dokie. Had to find again the unmute button. Just for clarification, so I understand the flow you're doing here. You're starting with a form, and the second piece is a grid?
Inside the tab, yes.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, could you not set it up so that you start off with the form either on the screen or as a pop-up, whichever is preferable, and then pop up the grid when necessary on top of the form?
So have essentially either two pop-ups going or open a pop-up, close a pop-up, and open another one?
You don't have to close one pop-up to open the other one. You can have them overlay as long as they are of different type modules. So like you can't do two action form pop-ups on top of each
Yeah.
other, but you can do an action form and then a grid on top of that.
Okay.
I've done it actually setting up the beta section and whatnot. That's part of how it behaves. So you can either have the form on the screen and pop up the grid on top when needed, or have a button that opens up an action form as a pop-up, and then that action form at whatever interval, whatever state it needs to, then pops up the grid on top of the form. So when they exit out of the grid, they go back to the form.
Okay. I've not I've not tried that particular combination. That is certainly very interesting. Where I've been really struggling is with this conditions, and if what I heard from Dale and Patrick is I'm basically going down the wrong path to begin with in terms of trying to use sessions as conditions.
Can you show us where you like the can you show us the button that calls the tabs?
Yep. So this form opens, and so the event when it starts, it makes sure it's set to 0. Then when you hit the go button, this sets it, make sure in this case set to 0, and it opens the tab instance. Once you're in, now there's two different versions of this. This version is where it's got two tabs, one left, one right, and the first tab opens up, well, I'll show you. It opens up this is just a form, and all this form is supposed to do is do two things. One, set this value to 1, which theoretically should open up. You can see even the tab 2 is wrong here. It should open up the second tab, therefore allowing the grid to be displayed, and by resetting this thing to 1. But basically let me refresh the screen just to make sure it's all happy here. All right, so if I click this, I get tab. You notice I had tab 2 up there before, even though this value is 0. And back to your point, Patrick and Dale, that may be kind of the heart of the problem. So if I go to continue to form 2, this action sets this. You'll notice this value is 1 up here. I just put that up to make sure I wasn't, dreaming.
It's not getting reevaluated.
Right. That to me is the heart and soul of this issue. Or maybe.
Can you show us the continue to form 2 button?
Absolutely. So this is, make sure I get this right. Okay, so I just show the session variable, which shows it's 0, continue to form 2. I set this to 1, display that toast message, change the tab stop to tab 2, evaluate the state, and basically it doesn't behave the way I would hope it to.
So if you used the get that we were talking, used it as a query string parameter, you could add the query string parameter here, and then on your tab, use a get instead of a session, and I think you'll get where you want to go. Mark has his hand up. Maybe you have experience in this area.
Yeah, I'm thinking of two things. One, I think I would probably approach this with JavaScript or jQuery. I'm going to go ahead and let both tabs be there when the form opens, and then with JavaScript and hide tab 2 using CSS. And then when you click on the right thing in tab 1 that's supposed to reveal tab 2, that would be a JavaScript command that unhides tab 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think I would approach it that way. And it seems to me like my other thought was I thought that there was some interaction between the tab settings and actions on the form. Like there's a section at the bottom of one of the, so you're aware of that. Yeah, I
Yes.
would, I thought that there was something in there that would do what you're trying to do, which is, reveal a tab.
Well, let's put it this way, Mark. I thought so too, and my dozens of combinations of buttons haven't hit the magic one yet. So,
Okay, well, I think you might not have exhausted it only because if you're trying to use the session variable as the go between, that might be the failing
right,
point.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I should, if what you guys are saying is that the reliability of the session variable in this context is, shall we say, suspect, then I don't do that. I'll happily do something else. So from a query string, if I were to do a query string to get from one tab to another, how would you suggest I construct? So the query string would be built here.
So Matt,
Yep. Yes, sir.
there's an example of this on Campfire, and if you will let me walk you through it, I think that'll be
Oh, yeah,
a good spot to start. So let me
absolutely.
grab back the share.
Yep.
So the just confirm, you can see my screen again.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I have this, this is a contribution called Connected Forms that I did for Cafe 153. And
Yeah.
notice I've got only 3 tabs here.
Mm-hmm.
I have a button, or rather a checkbox that says different ship to, and when I click it, it makes ship to appear.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the scenes, the configuration is that for the tabs module, the ship to is conditioned on getting using get, so off the command string, query string,
Mm-hmm.
getting ship to, and it's expecting a true or false value, right?
Right.
So if when it's true, then we show it. That's the logic. And then this button, which is here on the sold to form, the construction is dramatic pause. On my next button, I have change tab, continue execution, and I say going to the ship to tab with setting ship to the variable in the query string parameter equal to the value of the checkbox. So it's passing
Mm-hmm.
a true or false depending
Yep.
on, So it's just two steps. Using the query string parameters to talk to that tab
Mm-hmm.
and the tab. And I think it's not that session isn't being set, it's that where where this tab is being evaluated, and it says server side whatever. For whatever reason, this isn't being evaluated at that time, and versus when you do a get, it ends up retriggering the show conditionally, and it works. So
That's what I need to hear.
now I haven't tried it in modal, but I have no reason to believe it wouldn't work in modal. So you sounds like you got several things to at least give a try, and
Yeah,
you got a place to look.
absolutely. I knew you guys would figure it out. Thank you.
And and all of the other things that were mentioned are valid things to look at as well. I mean, if you were comfortable in JavaScript, then Mark's answer would, for example, would be a great answer. I lean towards the low code. I've told you guys that 100 times. So
Mm-hmm.
and it might be worth thinking about this show conditionally I'm thinking this help message, we could probably save people a ghost story by saying, don't use session.
Well, I'm glad I could at least prompt a documentation update.
Cool. So I'm going to do 5 minutes on what happened at DNN Summit, and anybody who wanted the presentation deck, I have that. I promised that I would give that away here. So let me make sure that this is anyone with the link can view, and I'll put the link on the chat. Find the chat. All right. And what we got accomplished in that time, let's see if I can find my way out here. What we got accomplished in that time is that we created some JSON data that with cities and latitudes and longitudes, we actually created 2 JSON sources. So this is the general city list, and then there's a we uploaded a second list. So if you look at city list 2, then these are all the different areas that were submitted by our fine participants in the thing. So we did some code for chart.js. Please let's let this work. There it is. Where you could display this in a chart form. Still using the city 2 thing to be able to swap between cities. So this took us about 10 minutes to develop that nice chart. This is, I think, what Don was referring to. We did tabulator as a display methodology. So tabulator, we've talked about it on Campfire, maybe or Cafe at least. But tabulator has the ability to sort and do lots and lots of things with data, multiple rows. It's a very nice thing. So we did tabulator, and then we also displayed that same as a leaflet map. And so the locations were there, and you could click and see their populations. And so this is what we got done in an hour. I'm thinking this might be you, Don.
That is. Yep.
Gave away his secret location. Okay. So in the presentation, I did all this using only HTML modules and some JavaScript, and all of it was written by AI. I did not, I don't know that I edited any JavaScript. I just asked for things and got them, and all of the AI interactions are in that presentation. My plan, I'm going to do something very similar in Low Code Cafe this week, but again, taking advantage of some plant and app tools like Action Form, which makes it easier to do, well, all of it. And we'll hook it up to some real data sources instead of this was just JSON files static on the server, but we'll hook it up to some data sources and things like that. So it'll be part 2, and if you saw it, maybe it'll be a good extension. If not, it'll be a good introduction. Were there any
It was
follow-up?
very cool.
Thank you.
Well, that's very nice, Joe. Did you say
It's
that's all HTML modules?
yes, it's HTML mod. If we look at the it's just an edit content, and we have we brought in the leaflet code, for example. We brought in the leaflet style sheet. we said we created a div to put the map into, and then we ran. This is the script that I uploaded onto the server. We create. Nope, that's. I'm sorry. This is the one from Leaflet. This is the one from that we created real time. But this script was one that was created by AI, and so with only being able to upload some JavaScript onto the site assets plus an HTML module generates the map.
That's really impressive that you accomplished all that in HTML now.
It's a little bit, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to use action form because, for example, the initialization scripts will let me put, or the static text boxes will just let me put my script directly into, so everything is in one place. It's kind of hard to edit a JavaScript inside an HTML module. The editor kind of messes with it. So at least I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I just I did it, split it that way, and I think it'll be easier within action form. And
you notice that he changed from the WYSIWYG CK editor to the raw text HTML, the basic text box editor, because of that. And yeah, CK editor will edit the hell out of it and ruin the script.
You could fix that by adding in a special protected tag that you can create. I do it on all of my sites. Anything in between the custom tag that you created, the editor will leave alone and won't touch it.
So that's a great idea, because I do it all the time.
That would be a great topic. Do you have that? Is that an easy available? How do you click and do that? Or is that something?
Yeah, give me a second. Let me pull it up and then I will post it in the chat for everyone to use, and then I'll walk you through on how to add it. So give me a minute.
Very nice. So while he's doing that, I will, in this, in my presentation deck, for example, you'll see that my objective was something, and it's immediately followed by instructions to the AI. So that's the pattern. So here's what I want to do. Here's how I accomplished it. And so, for example, the generating sample data looked like this. This was the instruction to, and I used ChatGPT 3.5, the free version. Where I thought it was kind of interesting is I wanted to do chart.js for that data set. And because it's part of a continued conversation, the only instruction I had to give to AI was write chart.js code to display the same data in a chart. It just is pretty impressive. So if you have access to it, I thought it was good. We generated a lot of energy, I thought, around doing that. It seemed to be well received.
Yeah, the comments were great, including a person who said that was new to them, that they could put script right into an HTML, which is a real eye-opener when the first time you can do that. So you made some people's day right there, but the rest was impressive too.
So, my caveat is I have worked with people before that considered AI their omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful best friend. And you have to more think of the AI as, or for me, it's a very smart intern. You still have to monitor what it does. And so it's not yet at the point where it's going to take over and replace developers, but rather if you use it to leverage, you can get farther faster.
So Dale, did you wrap Plantain app into your presentation somewhere? Anywhere?
Yes. So there's a variation on this, and I showed it. I didn't. I was having trouble. Of course, there's always a bug, right? But I had completed it within my preparation, so I was able to show it off. That leaflet lets you click on a map location and get latitude and longitude. And so what I built was you could click anywhere on the map and learn something about that spot. And when this other site fires up here, I can show that off. But this called an API that is, let's see if we can get, yeah, Amarillo will be fine. So we click that, we get a red dot immediately saying it's working. And then this goes off and calls a Plantain app API that is talking to AI. So we're passing the latitude, longitude, asking AI to tell us what's there, and
I believe you did famous people or something too, didn't you? Went out.
yeah, we did a little bit of manipulation. Absolutely, we showed that you could change the AI instructions to get different results. So yeah, I worked it in a little bit, but tried to make it open to everyone. Getting the response out of this, so that one might have gone to sleep too. But yes, I did. Thanks. All right. Ben, circling back, you there yet, or still looking? We'll move on.
He's looking.
Jump
I'm
in
finding the mute button again. It's always hiding behind another window. Yeah, it just took me a second to find the code, and then of course my website decided to just be really, really slow. So let me just grab this, and I'm gonna post this in the chat. Okay, so if you go to on any website, you could show this. Go to the settings and site settings. So the cogwheel, site settings. Once you get that open, you want to go to site behavior. Then you want to go to more. And then open the HTML editor manager. That button there. This is going to open up the CK editor settings. It's going to affect, the changes you make here are going to affect the site in general. So all the CK editors across. But all we're doing is we're adding a tag, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, something happened with your load there. That's not how it's supposed to look. You have to refresh. Okay, that's interesting.
It's just a little bit more narrow.
No, you got tabs and stuff that you're supposed to be able to see. The visual aspect of it is completely messed up there.
The CSS is not loading it.
Trying a different site. I don't know if that's definition of insanity.
Site settings. Behavior. More. Yep.
I think it's your theme.
Could be. Looks like it's the theme that's doing it.
You got a page that doesn't use the site builder theme?
Either that, or I can show you really quick on mine since I have it up.
There you go.
Well, and I don't know whether
might be the default theme. I don't know.
Yes, the default theme is probably
Okie
here. But in the interest of time, why don't you show us, Ben?
Okie dokie. Let's go up here. And guy out of the way. So everyone should see the screen here, site settings, right? Right, so once you get this loaded, you'll see that there's 4 tabs. The 4th tab says editor config. You're just gonna jump to that tab, and usually what I do is I just do a Control F and I look for the word protected. and you're going to jump directly to protected source. And then I put in this code in the chat. So it's from the paren to paren. You're going to want, initially what you guys are going to see is everything minus this. You're going to see it end at this /gi space paren and then a bracket.
We're adding to the protected sources.
Correct. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit comma, and then you're going to paste back, or put in. So comma, and then put in that code that I put in chat. Basically, this is saying that anything in a tag called protected, so you start it with protected and you end it with /protected, just like you would any other HTML, anything in between that tag will be ignored by the editor. It will not touch it. That's protected code. And since the word protected doesn't mean anything in HTML, it's not going to make any effect to anything else. It's just going to be ignored. But when you save it, anything that's within those two tags, the editor is not going to touch.
That's cool, Ben.
That's very clever.
Glad I could help.
Yes, very much. That's a godsend, really it is. But I
use it
like
all the time. Every website I create, it's the first thing I throw in there because I'm always mucking around and putting scripts or whatnot. And like you guys said, all of a sudden, I go and I hit save and my code just got completely walloped. And I'm like, what just happened?
So, okay, if I grab this back now.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, that's.
There you go.
I just wanted to. So just for kind of closing the loop a little bit, in this same area that Ben was asking me to do, it rendered funny, but it works. So now I say it works. It's not.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah. So open in manager. So see they were not rendering in tabs, but they were here, and I could hit editor config for custom toolbars. I could still get there, and I was able to add it. And yeah, so drop it right in. So this is a yeah, I think that's a lovely addition.
You got, just so you know, that bracket go up 3 or 2 lines, and then that bracket before the comma that goes at the very end.
So I've had my comma in the wrong spot.
Yeah,
I just did that so people would know.
That's it.
You got it.
Thank you, Dale.
Stuff here. Save. Okay. Good. So we shared the presentation desk. We talked about, you're going to see more about this in the next Low Code Cafe. I don't want to jump in front. If somebody has something else they wanted to get into today, that's great. Otherwise, I have some things that are I think worth sharing. So, but
A quick follow-up on the FTP format, Ben, that you gave. I get it. It looks right. I put it into Chrome, and Chrome sends me to Google saying, "Did you mean this?" as opposed to trying to open it. So a sanity check. Am I doing something wrong? I can't do that via just a browser. I need to do something else.
Again, trying to find the mute button. If I remember correctly, there might be a setting in Chrome where you have to enable it to say to accept FTP://. Otherwise, I believe it's disabled by default.
That makes sense. Okay, I'll go hunt for that.
yeah, so yep.
Okay.
Seeing the same kind of thing here.
Yeah, it might just be like you go into the triple dot and you go into the settings, and I think it might be in there somewhere where it says like for the browser to enable FTP:// and to actually do FTP. Otherwise, it's just going to ignore it. But when you're doing it directly, you're not going to have that issue. It's just the browser itself. that you enable it. So when you do it as an action, it should be fine.
Got it.
But testing it, I get it. You would just have to enable it in Chrome.
I
Seems to
still
be
have to get the rest of the path from the client, but yeah, that should work.
seems to be some good topics here about
Yep.
asking how to do that. By the way,
even if you log into the FTP and just scroll, drill down to where you want the file, that's your path.
When I log into FTP, my user is not the, top user or whatever you call it. They've set my root in somewhere in a path. So all I see in FTP is ...
Then
or
that's all
slash.
you need. Then you don't need a root. You don't need a path.
Oh, I see, because the part of the URL is me, my user
Exactly.
account.
It's you. Exactly. So when you're logging in as you, it's the path that you see. So if
Yes.
they're dropping you automatically in the folder, then you don't even need a path. You just need the host name / and the file name that you want.
Got it. I understood.
so working within your browser to be able to see this at work is, I mean, that's the easiest way to be able to visualize it. I'll point out that the action that I was pointing you to earlier, the save file action, isn't going through the browser. So if you had the right syntax, it would work regardless. But I
Got
think
it.
it's worth
Well, the technique you showed me was saving the file
save
and then
file with URL as the
and then
choice.
the source's URL.
Yeah.
What I'm getting is an XML file. So I would think there's a action that says process an XML string with is there one that's similar to that? Process an XML string, and then the source is a URL, because that would be ideal. Or execute for everything in the XML or
Create
something.
list from XML.
Yeah, create list from XML. Well,
So the file that you're getting back will be XML. Is that what I'm? Is
right.
that what you said? Yeah. So once you have it back, there's this one, and then I don't know if there's an XML. I don't think there's an XML list. But I
But the
think
parse one, the source that you're of the XML has that option of it being a URL.
no, I think that's only got the XML has to be on your. You have to have it as a string. So you're going to need it whatever. Um, what am I
So
trying
then
to
I
say?
have to do a save file, and then can I get a
Yes.
file into a string?
And actually, there's a contribution. No.
Might be a workaround. If you do a token that is a server request and use that same URL as a server request, what it's going to return to you is the content of that file. And if you use that token in that XML to JSON, it's going to dump the string that it comes back from the server request in there. So you potentially could avoid the having to save the file to your local drive to load it and then delete it. You could just grab it from the server request, dump it in there, and then utilize it.
Got it. That's what I was looking for. Perfect.
If the so depending, I mean, we have this HTTP request, and you can pass a URL and thing and headers. I'm not sure which. It's probably just doing a get, although I see there's post here too, so I'm a little. Just going to point out another solution would be if you created an API to go get your data and return it to you as the result of the API, for example, then
Ah,
that
It's similar to what you did with the using AI to show points of interest at a dot on a map. Created an API for that.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
But somehow or just using server request instead of the save file action, just use a server request action would also be a more direct way to go about it. So,
Oh, okay.
I went to save file because I thought you might want to keep it, move it to your site. But if a server request directly would be just doing it in memory.
On my soapbox about getting people to, instead of passing PDFs around and process thing and getting humans in the middle of things, to just have our process go straight to the back end system and do an API call to the system is much more efficient. And they said no. So what they're doing is they've got they do an output, an FTP drop of one XML file and a bunch of images to an FTP site, and then I grab it from there. So if that's what will make the job done, then that's what we're doing.
Good. So I had picked out 3 things to talk about. There's probably time to talk about one, so I'm just going to hit it. We've talked before in this group about the grid-loaded event for a grid. And so the idea is you want to do something with a grid after it's been fully inflated with all the data that it has. And so there is a grid loaded event. There's, first of all, it's not working in Bootstrap 5, so there is no way to say, hey, is my grid full of data yet? So the solution that we have at the moment, and this is a ongoing discussion that Ben and I are working with because he used this feature, but you can delay. You can wait a second and a half or half a second or whatever it takes for your grid to get data, and then proceed on with the exercise of what you're trying to do. But this was a feature that was available in Bootstrap 3, and I'm sure we'll make it available in Bootstrap 5. We just missed it in the first place. And again, dramatic pause. Why is this taking so long? So a syntax that works, and again, Ben used a slightly different syntax in the past that one would have hoped would continue working, but a syntax that does work now in Bootstrap 3 is this saying DNN sf.events.on grid loaded, and then you can have a inline function. I think that's what you call it, an inline function. And you can put anything you want into it. And so what happens then is when our software raises this on event, that this code gets executed. So in my illustration here, we're saying we're about to create this on. We do create the on, and then notice that it created it. And so when we look at this in the inspect, since I'm doing all that to console log, what you'll see is it's about to create it. It did create it, but it didn't actually run until the grid was loaded. So now it's this grid loaded running is happening later, and it's finding all of the TDs in the table. That's code that Ben provided. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that you knew that this, I've updated our public version of our JavaScript API, this informal documentation to include this this format of what works. So DNNSF, grid loaded, function, and you can put anything you want in the function. And then in these useful notes, it shows an example of how it might look. So Previously, I had shown this in a way that doesn't work, and I wanted to close the loop on that. It does work in Bootstrap 3, and someday we'll make it work in Bootstrap 5. And I'll save
It's
my
really
other
cool. Thank you, Dale.
Absolutely. I'll save my other topics for another day. And so with that, I invite anyone who can and would like to hang around for Afterglow. We'll turn off the recording here in a minute and hang around for a little bit longer and be more informal.